Good evening. Close your eyes for just a moment. Tonight's story lives inside a teacup that remembers what people forget. And the steam, it doesn't just rise. It carries voices from yesterday. This is Hanoi. Not the Hanoi of motorbike rivers and neon lights, but the quiet Hanoi hidden down Alley 17, a place where rain drips slowly off tin roofs, where street sweepers' brooms whisper against wet stone at dawn, and where memories cling to steam like dust to sunlight. Here, in a tiny tea house called Ginger Roots, lived a girl named Mai. Mai was 20 years old, with ink-stained fingers and eyes that held too many textbooks. She studied medicine at university, but her mind felt like a sieve. Names of bones slipped away. Diagrams of hearts blurred into gray smudges. Every exam ended with a red pen circling her failures. Her grandmother, the one who built this tea house with trembling hands, had passed away 3 monsoons ago. Now, Mai kept the shop open just to feel close to her, to remember. Every morning at 5 a.m., before the city woke, Mai swept the wooden floor. She'd light the charcoal stove. She'd fill the kettle with rainwater collected in clay pots. And as steam began to curl above the pot, she'd close her eyes. Breathe in ginger, star anise, the faintest hint of lemongrass. Exactly like Grandma's kitchen on rainy Tuesdays when Mai was small. "Remember the taste, little sparrow," Grandma would whisper, pressing a warm cup into her hands. Taste holds memories tighter than eyes ever can. But lately, even the taste was fading. Mai forgot to turn off the stove. She burned the faux broth she cooked for neighbors. She missed her best friend's birthday. Twice. Frustration tightened her throat like a fist. She'd stare at the chalkboard behind the counter, covered in half-erased anatomy drawings, and feel tears pricking her eyes. Why can't I hold on to anything? This morning was different. The teacup in her hand felt icy cold, though the tea inside steamed hot. As she brought it to her lips, something strange happened. The ginger taste didn't just warm her tongue. It flooded her mouth with the sound of Grandma's laughter. 10 years ago, monsoon season, they danced barefoot in the alley, catching raindrops on their tongues while thunder grumbled like a sleepy dragon. Mai's fingers trembled. The cup nearly slipped. Outside, the first rays of sun cut through the rain clouds. A street sweeper's broom shushed against the wet pavement. A motorbike sputtered to life down the alley. Ordinary sounds, but Mai felt the teacup grow heavier in her palms, as if it were full not of tea, but of all the things she'd lost. She didn't know this simple cup had been waiting for years, waiting for her tears to fall into its warmth, waiting to show her that some memories aren't lost. They're just sleeping beneath the steam. And the cup? It remembered everything. Soon, we'll follow Mai deeper into the steam. But for now, just breathe. Let the rain carry you. Let the tea remind you. The teacup's warmth lingered in Mai's palms long after dawn. But by 9 o'clock, as she hurried across university courtyards, Hanoi's heat pressed down like a damp cloth. Inside the anatomy lecture hall, fluorescent lights buzzed over rows of students flipping through textbooks. Mai opened her own book and froze. The diagrams of the human heart blurred into gray smudges. Arteries and valves swam before her eyes like fish in muddy water. She blinked hard. Focus, but the words dissolved. Only the ghost of ginger steam remained in her throat. Professor Lin's voice cut through the haze, described the mitral valve's function. Mai's hand shot up, then dropped. She remembered Grandma's hands shaping dumplings, not heart chambers. Another student answered perfectly. The professor's nod felt like a physical weight on Mai's shoulders. Shame sat in her stomach, like a cold stone. She traced the wooden desk's grain, wishing to hold her thoughts like tree roots hold earth. After class, Mai fled to the library. She rewrote notes until her fingers cramped. Mitral valve, pulmonary artery, aorta. She whispered them like prayers. But when she closed her eyes, All she saw was rain on the tea house windows. All she tasted was yesterday's ginger. By noon, her notebook pages were smudged with sweat and erased mistakes, a battlefield of forgotten knowledge. The walk home felt longer. Alley 17 smelled of wet stone and frying shallots. My unlocked ginger roots, her sanctuary. She filled the kettle, lit the stove, and waited for the steam to rise. Breathe in. Remember the taste. But today, the ginger scent felt thin, distant, like try to catch smoke with bare hands. Her phone buzzed, a message from Lon, her best friend since primary school. Dinner tonight? My new apartment. 7 p.m., smiley face. Mai's heart leapt. Then her eyes caught the date on her wall calendar. Red marker circled tomorrow, Land's birthday. She'd forgotten, again. Last year, she'd missed it for an exam. The year before, she'd bought Land's favorite dessert, but left it melting on a motorbike seat while studying. Her thumbs hovered over the keypad. Sorry, she deleted the words. Shame burned her cheeks hotter than the stove. She needed to cook faux broth for Mrs. Hoa next door, her small way of honoring Grandma's kindness. But as she chopped onions, her mind drifted to Land's disappointed face. The knife slipped. A thin red line appeared on her thumb. Tears mixed with onion fumes. The broth pot bubbled angrily on the stove. When smoke filled the kitchen, I scrambled to turn off the flame. Too late. The broth blackened at the edges, filling the air with the acrid smell of burnt memories. Stupid, she whispered to the empty room. Stupid civil to mind. She dumped the ruined pot into the sink. Water ran over her hands, cold and relentless. Outside, a street sweeper's broom shushed against wet pavement. 5 a.m.'s gentle rhythm, now a mocking reminder of her failure. I gripped the counter's edge, knuckles white. The wood was smooth from years of Grandma's hands. She traced its surface absently and froze. Beneath her fingers, the wood held a carving she'd never noticed. A coiled dragon, its scales detailed with delicate knife strokes. Its eyes seemed to watch her. Had Grandma made this? When? Why can't I remember? A chill slithered down her spine. This tea house held more ghosts than she knew. Rain began tapping the tin roof, soft at first, then insistent. I lit a single candle and sat in the darkening shop. She placed a cold teacup before her. Remember the taste, she pleaded silently. But the steam stayed stubbornly ordinary. No laughter, no rain dances. Only silence and the smell of burnt broth clinging to her clothes like regret. Midnight came. The candle guttered out. I locked the tea house door, her shadow long and lonely on the wet alley stones. She climbed the narrow stairs to her tiny bedroom above the shop. Exhaustion pulled at her bones. She fell asleep fully clothed, the taste of ash still on her tongue. She didn't hear the first chime, but the second one shattered her dream. Ding dong. 3 a.m., the tea house doorbell. I jolted upright, heart hammering against her ribs. Who would come at this hour? Lon, perhaps, finally ready to yell at her, or Professor Lin with failing grades. She crept downstairs, bare feet silent on wooden steps. Moonlight bled through the tea house windows, painting silver stripes on the counter. The bell rang again, ding-dong, sharp and impatient. I unlocked the door. Empty alley, rain falling softly on glistening stones. No footsteps, no shadow, just the dripping plink. Plink, plink of water from a broken gutter. She stepped outside, peering into the mist. Nothing. Then a sound, not from the street, from inside the tea house. The delicate clink of porcelain against wood, like a teacup being set down gently on the counter. The doorbell had rung, but no one had rung it. Rain lashed the tea house windows as I stood frozen in the doorway. The clink of porcelain echoed in the silent shop. Moonlight silvered the counter where a single teacup sat, steam curling from its rim like a question mark. No footprints on the wet floor. No breath fogging the glass. Just that cup waiting. She stepped inside, heart drumming against her ribs. The air smelled of damp wood and yesterday's burnt broth. As her fingers closed around the warm cup, steam rose in lazy spirals. Breathe in. Ginger, star anise, and beneath it, a new scent, wet stone and river mud. Memories flooded her, sharp as broken glass. Age 7. Grandma kneeling by the red river at dawn. Dig where the water sings, little sparrow, she'd said, pressing a smooth river stone into Mai's palm. Some memories live in the earth, not the mind. Mai gasped. The cup trembled. The memory vanished like mist. Only the burnt broth smell remained. She set the cup down hard. Coincidence, exhaustion, anything but magic. She locked the door firmly, sliding the bolt with shaking hands. Real problems need real solutions. Morning brought no relief. At university, Professor Lin handed back exams. Mai's paper bore a crimson 42%. See me after class, he said quietly. Her cheeks burned. In his cramped office, textbooks tower like unscalable mountains. Your knowledge is surface deep, Mai, he sighed. Like rain on tin, here one moment, gone the next. He slid a pamphlet across the desk. Neural blue memory pills. Unlock your brain's potential. A student recommended these. They work. His eyes held pity. Or closed, ginger roots. Focus on studies. The words landed like stones. Close the tea house? Grandma's dream? Her sanctuary? Mai's throat tightened. That afternoon, she wandered Hanoi's old quarter. The pamphlet crumpled in her fist. Near Home Keem Lake, a voice cut the crowd. You look like a girl drowning in textbooks. On leaned against a motorbike, sunglasses hiding his eyes. Known on campus for his perfect grades and rumors of shortcuts. He tapped the pamphlet in her hand. Neurobloom? Good choice. Costs a fortune, but... He grinned. I know a cheaper source. He named a price half the official rate. Guaranteed. Or your money back. Doubt coiled in my stomach. Real solutions. Not magic cups in empty tea houses. She thought of the dragon carving. The 3 a.m. teacup. Fairy tales for children. I'll take 3 bottles, she heard herself say. That night, ginger roots fell haunted. Mai scrubbed the counter where the mysterious cup had sat. Her claw snagged on the dragon carving. Deeper now, as if freshly cut. Scritch, scritch. The sound echoed the street sweeper's broom. She paused, tracing the scales. Why does this feel important? For the first time, she noticed tiny characters carved along the dragon's spine. Hannam script, Grandma's native language. Words she'd never learned. Shame washed over her. I forgot to ask her to teach me. She brewed fresh tea, ignoring the steam. No more ghosts, she whispered. Just facts. Just pills. She downed the first Neurobloom tablet with bitter tea. It left a chemical aftertaste, sharp as ammonia within minutes. Her mind felt strangely clear, a cold metallic clarity. She opened her anatomy textbook. Mitral valve, pulmonary artery. The words stayed sharp on the page. No blurring, no fog. Relief flooded her, warm and sweet. But as she turned the page, something slipped. The scent of ginger vanished from the air. The carved dragon on the counter seemed to fade into the wood. Even Grandma's favorite blue teapot looked unfamiliar. A stranger's pot on a stranger's shelf. Panic fluttered in her chest. What am I losing to gain this? She reached the teacup to steady herself and froze. The steam wasn't rising straight. It coiled into the shape of a dragon's tail, flickering like candle smoke. I stumbled back. No, this isn't real. She crushed 2 more pills into her palm, swallowed them dry. The dragon steam dissolved instantly. Her textbook pages snapped back into focus. See? Science wins. She studied until dawn, the chemical clarity sharpening every fact. Bones, muscles, nerves. She didn't notice the teacup growing icy cold beside her, didn't feel the tea house holding its breath. At sunrise, she packed her bag for class. The teacup sat empty, forgotten. As she locked the shop door, a folded letter fluttered to her feet, slipped under the door while she slept. Her name written in spidery, familiar handwriting, Grandma's handwriting. Hands trembling, she opened it. Only one line. The dragon remembers what you forget. Listen to the silence. Below it, a bank notice. Final warning. Property taxes overdue. Pay by Friday or face foreclosure. Friday was tomorrow. My stare at the letter. The neural bloom's false clarity shattering like dropped porcelain. The teacup steam had shown her the past, but it hadn't warned her about today. The pills made her remember facts. But what if remembering her, her grandmother, this tea house, the river stone in her pocket, was the only thing that could save her now? Rain blurred the foreclosure notice in Mai's hands. Friday, tomorrow, the numbers swam. 15 million dong, more than she'd seen in her life. The neurobloom's chemical clarity cracked like thin ice. She stumbled back into ginger roots, the doorbell's ghost chime still ringing in her ears. The empty teacup sat on the counter, cold and accusing. She slammed the letter down. "You want me to listen?" she whispered to the empty shop. To what? Silence? Steam? Her voice echoed off the wooden rafters. Outside, the alley's familiar sounds faded. The sizzle of street food stalls, the laughter of children chasing raindrops. Only the dripping gutter remained. Plink, 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 like a clock counting down. Mai's fingers closed around a river stone in her pocket, the one Grandma gave her by the Red River. Its smooth weight felt real, solid. She pressed it to her temple. Think. Rent from the tiny apartment upstairs, gone to textbooks. Savings, eaten by hospital bills during Grandma's last year. The Neurobloom pills, half her student loan. Despair wrapped around her ribs like cold wire. Then she saw it, tucked behind the counter, a small lacquer box she'd forgotten. Inside lay Grandma's jade hairpin and a ledger book. Mai flipped it open. Page after page of elegant script recorded tea house debts and payments. Until 3 months ago. The final entry, Mai's university fees. Sold my gold bracelet. The dragon will guard us. Below it, a sketch of the carved dragon on the counter, its tail curling around a tiny symbol. The dragon will guard us. Grandma's last gift, her last promise. Mai traced the dragon carving on the counter. The Hannam script along its spine suddenly made sense. Not words, but coordinates. A location by the Red River, where Grandma buried emergency savings. Dig where the water sings, she'd said long ago. Hope sparked in Mai's chest, bright and fragile. She could go tonight, retrieve the money, save the tea house. But first, she needed to clear her head. The pill's metallic taste still coated her tongue. She filled the kettle, lit the stove, and waited for steam to rise. Real clarity, not chemicals. As she poured hot water into the teacup, rain hammered the roof. The steam curled upward and slowly, impossibly, shaped itself into a human hand. Grandma's hand, pointing not toward the door, but to the dragon carving. The dragon remembers what you forget. Mai's breath caught. She touched the carving. The wood felt warm, alive. Beneath her thumb, the tiny symbol pulsed faintly. The steam hand dissolved. In its place, the scent of river mud and ginger flooded the air. A memory surfaced, not from her mind, but from her bones. Age 12. Grandma pressing the river stone into her palm. "This stone hold the river song," she whispered. "When you forget who you are, hold it close. Listen." Tears spilled down Mai's cheeks. She'd forgotten the stone's true purpose. Forgotten to listen. The Neurobloom pills hadn't just blurred facts. They'd silence the very things that anchor her to herself, to Grandma, to this tea house. My smashed the pill bottle against the wall. Glass shards glittered like broken stars on the floor. The chemical fog lifted instantly, replaced by raw, trembling clarity. She packed a small bag, the river stone, a flashlight, the ledger book. As she locked the tea house door at midnight, rain soaked her hair. The alley felt different, alive with whispers in the downpour. Streetlights cast long, dancing shadows that looked like coiled dragons on wet stone. She walked toward the Red River, the stone heavy in her pocket. Halfway there, headlights cut through the rain. On's motorbike skidded to a stop. "Running away, no!" He called over the engine's roar. "Without paying for pills?" His smile didn't reach his eyes. Those were borrowed goods from dangerous people. He stepped closer, rain dripping from his chin. Hand over the tea house deed. "Consider it. Payment." Mai's pulse hammered in her throat. She backed away, clutching her bag. "The deed's not mine to give." On's grin vanished. He grabbed her wrist, cold, strong fingers like iron. "Everything has a price, little sparrow." His breath smelled of betel nut and stale beer. "Even ghosts." Panic surged. Mai yanked her arm free, and the river stone tumbled from her pocket. It hit the wet pavement with a soft clack. As it rolled toward the gutter, On lunged for it. Mai dove after the stone, and the world went silent. Not quiet, silent. The rain stopped falling. On froze mid-lunge, one hand outstretched. Streetlights glowed like captured moons. Even the river's distant roar vanished. In that impossible stillness, the teacup steam curled around Mai's ankles. And from the stone, a voice clearer than temple bells. "Dig where the water sings." Time didn't stop. She did. And in that silence, the river began to sing. Silence pressed against Mai's eardrums like deep water. Raindrops hung suspended in air, diamonds frozen mid-fall. On's outstretched hand trembled a hair's breadth from her wrist. The river stone glowed softly on the wet pavement, pulsing with a low, rhythmic hum. Dig where the water sings. The voice wasn't in her ears. It lived in her bones. Mai snatched the stone. Warmth flooded her palm, melting the fear. She stepped around On's frozen form, her sandals silent on rain-slicked stones. Alley 17 stretched before her, transformed. Streetlights cast unmoving halos over frozen motorbikes. A vendor's faux steam hung like ghostly scarves in the air. Even the gutters plink, plink, plink had stilled. Only the river song pulled her forward, a melody woven from water and wind. Crossing Home Keem Lake felt like walking through a painted scroll. Tourists stood mid-laugh, ice cream dripping but never falling. A cyclo driver pedaled a wheel that never turned. Mai's breath fogged in the unnatural chill. She touched a frozen raindrop. It shattered like glass. How long does this last? Doubt slithered in. The Neurobloom bottle in her bag felt heavy. One pill, just to think clearly. She unzipped the bag, then stopped. The river stone flared warm against her skin. Grandma's voice echoed. Chemicals silenced the song. Mai threw the pills into the lake. They vanished without a splash. The Red River roared ahead, but frozen. Waves hung in jagged peaks like shattered mirrors. Fishermen stood knee-deep in suspended currents, nets half-cast. The song grew louder here, vibrating up Mai's legs. She waded into the icy water. Mud sucked at her ankles, roots snaked around her feet, trying to pull her under. Her arms burned as she fought through frozen reeds. Too slow. The tea house will be gone by dawn. Tears blurred her vision. She sank to her knees in the mud. "I can't," she whispered. "I forget everything, even how to say what matters." The river stone dimmed in her hand. On's frozen face loomed in her mind. Dangerous people, and foreclosure notice. Maybe pills were right. Maybe ghosts can't pay debts. She loosened her grip on the stone. Let slip toward the black water. A warmth bloomed on her palm, not from the stone, from her skin. The dragon carving from the tea-house counter now glowed faintly on her wrist. Scales shimmering blue. The river's song swelled, filling her chest like breath. Remember the taste of ginger. The water seemed to sigh. Remember the taste of home. Strength surged through her. She gripped the stone tighter and pushed forward. The song led her to a bend where two currents collided. Here, the frozen waves formed a perfect circle of calm water. Moonlight pierced the ice, illuminating a patch of riverbed glowing with soft blue light. My plunged her hands into the freezing mud. Fingers scraped against wood. A small, waterlogged box. Hope flared. Grandma's savings. The tea house is saved. She pried it open. Empty. Only a hand mirror lay inside, its surface clouded with silt. Disappointment crushed her. She lifted the mirror and froze. The reflection didn't show her rain-streaked face. It showed the tea-house counter at 3 a.m., the mysterious teacup steaming. And behind it, On's eyes watching from the shadows. I dropped the mirror. It shattered on the river stones, releasing a burst of blue light. The frozen waves shuddered. Raindrops began to fall again. Plink, plink, plink. Time was restarting. Panic seized her. She dug frantically where the box had been. Her fingers closed around something small and smooth. Not coins. Another river stone, identical to the one in her palm, but colder, carved with the same tiny symbol. She stuffed both stones into her pocket as the world snapped back to life. Rain crashed down. The river roared. On shout cut through the storm. There she is. Motorbike engines revved in the alley. Headlights stabbed through the rain. I ran. Mud sucked at her sandals. Her lungs burned. The dragon on her wrist glowed brighter with every step, pulsing like a heartbeat. She burst into Alley 17, straight into On's outstretched arms. He wrenched the ledger book from her bag. "Looking for this?" he sneered, flipping to the page of the dragon sketch. "My grandfather carved that counter. This tea house belongs to my family." I stumbled back, rain blinding her. Grandma bought it fair. From a dying old man who forgot his own name, On spat. "Like you." He tossed the ledger into a puddle. "The deed's mine by dawn. And those stones?" He lunged for her pocket. "Family heirlooms." I dodged, and the two river stones fell into the muddy street. As On grabbed one, I snatched the other, but the stone in her hand wasn't cold like before. It was warm, and it was breathing. On's stone turned ice cold in his grip. My stone pulsed against her palm like a living thing. And the dragon on her wrist? Its eyes snapped open. Rain slashed down as the stones clacked together on the muddy street. On's cold stone radiated frost, freezing the puddle beneath its solid. Mai's warm stone pulsed against her palm like a heartbeat, sending heat up her arm. The dragon on her wrist flared blue, its carved eyes now glowing embers in the downpour. On staggered back, his stone burning his skin. "What witchcraft is this?" he snarled, shaking his hand. Mai didn't answer. The warm stone filled her mind with flood of his memories, not hers. A boy, 8 years old, watching his grandfather carve the dragon into Ginger Root's counter. A father shouting, "That tea house ruined us. She stole your grandfather's memories with her ginger steam." A lifetime of bitterness crystallizing like ice in On's chest. He's afraid of forgetting, too, Mai realized. Just like me, On's motorbike buddies revved their engines, headlights cutting through the rain. "Finish this, On," one yelled. On wiped rain from his eyes, his voice raw. "My grandfather built that counter. He carved the dragon to guard his memories after the war. Then she came." He stabbed a finger toward the tea house. With her teas and her tricks, made him forget his own name, his own son. His knuckles whitened around the cold stone. "This stone is all I have left of him. The warm stone in Mai's hand grew heavier. Grandma's voice surfaced, not as memory but as truth. Some stones hold memories, others hold pain. Only the warm ones remember how to heal. Mai looked at On, really looked. Saw not a thief, but a boy who'd lost his inheritance twice. First to Grandma's kindness, then to his own father's rage. If I take his stone, I become what he fears, a memory thief. Mai made her choice. She stepped forward, holding out her warm stone. Take it. Unfroze. What? Take it, she repeated, rain streaming down her face. It's warmer. It remembers better. Suspicion hardened his eyes. A trick? No trick. She pressed a stone into his free hand. This one remembers your grandfather's laugh. The day he gave you your first motorbike. It remembers he loved you before the forgetting. On's breath hitched as his skin touched the warm stone. A shudder ran through him. His cold stone clattered to ground, its frost melting instantly. The dragon on Mai's wrist dimmed, but didn't vanish. On dropped his knees in the mud, tears mixing with rain. He taught me to ride at Homekeem Lake, he whispered. I forgot that. The warm stone in On's hand glowed brighter, but its light wasn't blue. It was gold, and the gold light wasn't healing him. It was unmaking him. Mai watched in horror as On's edges blurred. His rain-soaked jacket faded like old ink. His face lost its sharp angles, softening into a child's features. No, she cried, grabbing his shoulders. Her fingers passed through him like mist. What's happening? On's voice echoed from far away. The stone, it only holds memories of before the pain. I'm becoming the boy who forgot how to grieve. His form flickered, a ghost of an 8-year-old in a too-big helmet. I don't want to forget him again. My grandfather, the angry man. He was still my father. The tea-house doorbell rang. Ding-dong. My spoon. The shop glowed gold through its rain-streaked windows. Steam poured from under the door like a beckoning hand. Inside, 2 teacups sat steaming on the counter, their steam weaving together into the shape of an old man's face. Gentle eyes, a familiar smile. Grandma's voice filled the alley, warm as ginger tea. Some memories need the cold to stay real, little sparrow. Mai understood. She snatched the cold stone from the mud. It seared her palm with icy fire. On catch. She threw the cold stone toward his fading form. This one remembers the whole truth, the anger and the love. The cold stone passed through On's chest and anchored him. His body solidified, the gold light receding. He gasped, clutching the cold stone to his heart. It's heavy, he choked out, but real. They stumbled into ginger roots, dripping onto the wooden floor. The 2 steaming cups waited. On hesitated. Why 2 cups? Mai poured hot water from the kettle. 1 for you. 1 for... She stopped. The second cup's steam had shaped itself into the silhouette of an old man in a worn-out dye. On's grandfather. His ghostly hand rested on On's shoulder. On lifted his cup with trembling hands. The steam didn't bring memories. It brought a voice, rough with decades of cigarette smoke and regret. I'm sorry I forgot how to be your father. But when On looked at the ghost beside him, his grandfather wasn't there. Only Mai's reflection stared back from the teacup. And in her eyes, the dragon's glow had turned gold. The cold stone had saved On. But the warm stone, it had chosen a new keeper. Golden light still flickered in Mai's eyes as she stared into the teacup. On's reflection showed not a ghost, but his own face, wet with rain and something softer. He touched the steam. He wasn't in the cup, he whispered. He was in me. All this time. The cold stone in his palm pulsed once. Warm now, not magic, just memory. Outside, dawn bled pink through the rain clouds. The foreclosure notice lay forgotten on the counter, soaked through. On picked it up gently. My father filed this. Not me. He tore the paper slowly, deliberately. Pieces fluttered into the ash bin like dead leaves. The tea house was never his to claim. Or mine. He placed a cold stone beside Mai's cup. It belongs to the memories it holds. All of them. Mai's warm stone glowed against her skin, but differently now. Not a pulse, but a steady hum. When she lifted her cup, the steam didn't shape ghosts. It showed her, age 7, teaching On's grandfather to write dragon in Hannam script on the counter, his rough hands guiding hers. A memory shared, he'd said, is a memory doubled. Grandma hadn't stolen memories. She'd given them back to a man drowning in war silence. We don't lose memories. We lose the courage to hold them both, the warm and the cold. On's motorbike friends revved engines outside. He stepped to the door, then paused. Tomorrow, he said without turning, I'll bring my grandfather's ledger, the real one, with every debt he owed this shop and every kindness he received. He vanished into the rain, but left the cold stone on the counter. 2 stones now, warm and cold, like 2 hands holding each other. I filled the kettle again. As steam rose, the dragon carving on the counter glowed gold, not on her wrist, but in the wood itself. Scales deepened, eyes softened. The Hannam script along its spine shimmered, not coordinates, but a phrase. Remember to forgive. She traced the words. The teacup warmed in her hands. No voices, no ghosts, just the taste of ginger, clean and sharp. She understood now. The stones weren't magic. They were mirrors, showing not what we forgot, but what we refused to carry, the grief we buried, the love we let rot. Grandma's real gift wasn't steam or stones. It was teaching people to sit with the cold until it warmed. I swept the glass shards from the shattered pill bottle, wiped the mud from On's dropped ledger, poured fresh tea into 2 cups, one for her, one for the empty chair across from her. The tea house smelled of wet wood and ginger, not burnt broth. When Mrs. Hoa knocked at dawn with her usual faux order, I cooked the broth slowly, watched the steam rise. Remember the taste, she whispered. And for the first time in years, she did. Friday came. No bailiffs, no lawyers. Just on at the door with a weathered ledger and a bag of river stones. My grandfather collected these, he said, placing them on the counter. Each bore the tiny symbol. He called them truth stones, said warm ones hold joy, cold ones hold pain, but both are needed to remember fully. He left one stone on the counter, the warm one that had chosen keep it, guard the stories. That afternoon, I reopened the tea house. Students came for exam breaks. Old men played chess in corners. And when a trembling girl confessed she'd forgotten her mother's face, I placed a warm stone in her palm. Hold it like this, she said, curling the girl's fingers. Now breathe the steam. Don't chase the memory. Let it find you. As moonlight silvered the counter that night, I placed the 2 stones, the warm and the cold, side by side in a clay pot. She poured rainwater over them. By dawn, green shoots had split the stone surfaces. Tiny ginger leaves unfurled, trembling in the steam from the kettle. The dragon carving beneath them glowed faintly, its scales now cradling living roots. The next morning, a letter arrived, not from the bank, from Professor Lin. Your exam retest is approved. But first, I need to remember how to be a teacher. May I come to the tea house tonight? I'll bring my own river stone. I set the letter beside the sprouting ginger. The warm stone pulsed once in the pot, not a memory, an invitation. The stones didn't hold memories. They held space for them. And in that space, something new began to grow. Let me tell you this story again, more slowly, like steam rising from a fresh cup. This is a girl with ink-stained fingers who studied medicine in Hanoi. Her mind was like a sieve. Facts slipped through, faces faded, Even her best friend's birthday vanished from her thoughts. She lived above a small tea house called Ginger Roots, left to her by her grandmother. Every morning at dawn, Ma swept the wooden floor, lit the charcoal stove, listened to rain drip on the roof. She tried to remember Grandma's hands shaping dumplings, the scent of ginger on monsoon mornings. But the memories dissolved like sugar in hot tea. One night, at 3 a.m., the tea house doorbell rang. No one stood outside, only a single teacup steaming on the counter. When Ma held it, the steam carried her back, age 7, Grandma kneeling by the Red River. "Dig where the water sings," she whispered, pressing a smooth stone into Ma's palm. But real life pressed hard. Ma failed her exams. Her tea house faced foreclosure. A boy named on claimed the shop belonged to his family. He showed her a cold river stone, a stone that held only painful memories. Ma had a warm stone of her own, glowing with forgotten joy. On was angry. He believed Ma's grandmother had stolen his grandfather's memories with her teas. But the stones revealed the truth. Grandma had helped an old man share his grief, not erase it. She carved a dragon on the counter, a guardian for all memories, warm and cold. When On tried to take Ma's warm stone, something changed. The warm stone flowed into him, but it could only hold happy memories. He began to fade, becoming a ghost of his childhood self. Ma understood. True remembering needs both warmth and cold. She gave him back his cold stone. It anchored him, made him real again. Inside the tea house, 2 teacups steamed on the counter. On drank from one. The steam didn't show his grandfather's ghost. It showed On's own reflection, holding both stones. He tore the foreclosure notice, brought his grandfather's true ledger, left his cold stone beside Ma's warm one on the counter. Now, Ma's tea house hums with life again. Students sip tea while studying. Elders share stories of wars and weddings. When someone forgets a name, a face, a feeling, Ma places a river stone in their palm. "Breathe the steam," she says. "Don't chase the memory. Let it find you." And the 2 stones? Ma planted them in a clay pot with rainwater. By dawn, ginger sprouts pushed through their cracks. The dragon carving beneath the pot glows softly at night. Not with magic, but with the warmth of shared stories. If you look closely at the ginger leaves, you'll see their veins form tiny maps, not of streets, but of heartbeats. Professor Lin noticed this when he came for tea last night. He placed his own river stone beside the pot. "I forgot how to teach with my heart," he admitted. The warm stone pulsed. A single ginger leaf brushed his hand. So this is my story. A girl who thought remembering meant holding tight. She learned it means letting go of shame, of pills, of the need to be perfect. She learned to listen, to steam, to silence the stones. And in that listening, she found what was never truly lost. Tomorrow night, we'll hear this story again, but through different eyes. Eyes that have watched Ma since she was small. Eyes that remember every tear she's cried into a teacup. I am the stone, the warm one. I remember everything. I remember the Red River song, when she first held me, Grandma's hands pressing me into small, muddy fingers. "Dig where the water sings, little sparrow," Grandma whispered. I felt the girl's heartbeat then, fast as a dragonfly's wings. Hopeful, I was smooth and silent in her palm, but I knew I would keep her safe when memories slipped like river minnows through her fingers. I remember the nights she forgot, when she locked herself in the tea house above me, swallowing bitter pills that made her mind sharp but cold. I sat on the counter, waiting. She'd touch the dragon carving, my dragon, and whisper, "Why can't I remember?" I wanted to warm her hands, but she stopped listening, stopped tasting the ginger steam. I grew colder in the dark. I remember the rainstorm, the fear in her chest when the angry boy grabbed her wrist. When she dropped me into the mud, his cold stone burned her skin. I felt its frost even from the gutter. but when she chose to give him me. Ah, that moment, I flowed into his hands. Carrie's forgotten laughter, the day his grandfather taught him to ride a motorbike. But he trembled. I don't want to forget the angry man, he cried. That's when I understood. Humans need both warmth and cold to stay real. I remember the tea house counter at dawn, her tears falling on my surface as she held on's cold stone. Not to take, to give back. I saw her choice in steam. True remembering needs both. When On tore the foreclosure paper, I warmed in her pocket. Not magic, just relief. I remember the clay pot, rainwater like liquid sky, her hands planting me beside the cold stone. Grow, she whispered. At first, I resisted. Stones don't grow. But then, crack. A green shoot split my center. Painful, beautiful. I felt roots reaching for the cold stone's core. Together, we held the ginger seeds. Together, we remembered how to live. I remember Professor Lin last night, his river stone cold and heavy in his palm. I forgot how to teach with my heart, he confessed. My place my sprout beside his stone. When a ginger leaf brushed his hand, he wept. I felt his memories unfurl, not facts from textbooks, but the taste of his first student's smile. The sound of chalk on a board when knowledge felt like a gift. I am just a stone. But humans, they think remembering means holding tight. I've learned it means letting go, letting warmth melt cold, letting roots crack stone, letting tears water what's broken. When the girl places me in trembling hands now, I don't give memories. I make space for them, like the river holds both minnows and monsoons. Like steam holds both laughter and silence. Last Tuesday, a child wept into Mai's teacup. I forgot my mother's face. Mai put me in the child's palm. Breathe, she said. I felt the child's small fingers tighten, smelled the ginger steam, felt the moment the child's shoulder softened. Not because she remembered her mother's eyes, but because she remembered how her mother's hand felt holding hers in the rain. That's when I knew. We don't remember with our minds. We remember with our skin, our breath, our bones. Tonight, as moonlight silvered the ginger leaves, Mai whispered to me, soon, I'll teach others to listen like you do. But I felt a new vibration in the clay pot, deep underground. A second river stone, older, heavier, stirring the earth beneath Hanoi, waiting to be dug up, waiting to sing. I am only one stone. But the earth holds many, and the river, it never stops singing. The oldest stones sleep deepest. Beneath Hanoi's streets, beneath the Red River's muddy bed, they dream of hands that held them, of tears that watered them, of voices that sang them awake. Mai doesn't dig for them yet. She tends her sprouting stones on the counter, lets the ginger leaves brush passing hands. Waits. Rain still falls on Alley 17. Street sweepers' brooms still shush at dawn. Students still spill textbooks on sticky tables, sighing over forgotten facts. But now, when a girl's eyes grow distant with worry, Mai places a warm stone in her palm, not to fix her mind, to remind her, you are more than what you remember. We don't remember with our minds. We remember with our hearts. This story lives in small things, in the way steam curls above a teacup when you're lonely, in the weight of a smooth stone in your pocket when you're afraid, in the taste of ginger on your tongue when the world feels too sharp. You felt it too, haven't you? That moment when a scent, a sound, a slant of light unlocks a door inside you, and suddenly you're 10 years old again, standing barefoot in the rain. That's not magic. It's your heart remembering what your mind forgot. If this story's steam carried you somewhere tonight, if you smelled ginger in the silence or felt a stone warm in your palm, leave a seedling below. Not a like, not a subscribe, just a little green shoot to say, I was here. I listened. For every seedling, I'll plant one real ginger seed in a pot on Ginger Root's counter. Watch it crack a stone. And if you'd like to hear the story of the older stone stirring beneath Hanoi, tap the bell. not for notifications. For the sound it makes, a tiny ding, like a teacup touching wood, a reminder that some stories wait patiently under the surface of things. You can listen again tomorrow. Let the rain carry you back. Let the steam find what you've lost. With headphones, you might catch the river song between words. With eyes closed, you might taste ginger on your lips. The oldest stones sleep deepest, but the river never stops singing. And neither do we. The silence after a story is holy ground. Let's sit here a while. Just you, just me, just the rain still falling on Alley 17's tin roofs. Close your eyes. Feel the weight of your own teacup in your hands. Is it warm? Is it cold? Does the steam carry a memory you thought was lost? I remember the first time I truly listened. Not to words, to silence. The night she sat alone after on left. No pills. No panic, just the kettle's slow sigh as it cooled. She traced the dragon carving on the counter, felt its ridges beneath her thumb, and in that quiet, she heard what Grandma meant. The song isn't in the steam. It's in the space between breaths. Breathe in now, slowly. Feel your ribs expand like folded paper unfolding. Breathe out. Let the day's sharp edges soften. Look at your hands. See how they hold this moment? Not tightly, not like my clutching her textbooks, but open, like a cup waiting for steam. That student who failed her exam today, she's breathing somewhere under Hanoi's neon lights, her hands trembling over erased pages. But in this silence, right now, she's safe. You're both safe. The river still sings beneath the city's roar. The stones still dream in the dark earth. Nothing is truly forgotten, only waiting to be remembered gently. This is where real remembering begins, not in crowded lecture halls, not in frantic swiping through flashcards. Here, in the quiet after the story, when your heartbeat slows to match the kettle's rhythm, when you taste not just ginger, but the rain that grew it. I've watched you listen tonight, your breath catching when I dropped a stone in the mud. Your shoulders softening when on wept over his cold stone. You didn't just hear a story. You lived it in your bones. That's the deepest remembering of all. Don't rush to move. Don't check your phone. Stay here in the steam a little longer. Let your mind be like Mai's teacup, empty enough to hold what comes next. Feel that? The shift in the air. The old stone stirring under Hanoi isn't just in the story. It's under your feet right now, beneath your chair, beneath the city of motorbikes and memories. It hums with every heartbeat, every tear, every breath you take in this quiet space. You carry stones too, not in your pocket, in your chest. Warm ones wrapped in laughter, cold ones wrapped in loss. They're not meant to be buried, they're meant to be planted, like ginger seeds in cracked clay. Listen, can you hear it? The river's song beneath the rain. It's singing your name. And when you open your eyes tonight, you might find a single ginger leaf resting on your pillow. The oldest stones sleep deepest. But your heart, it never stops singing back. 3 weeks after the rainstorm, Professor Lin came to Ginger Roots at dawn, not in his stiff university suit, in worn cotton clothes, smelling of dust and old books. He carried a clay pot wrapped in burlap. I dug it up last night, he said, placing it on the counter beside my sprouting stones. The pot held a river stone, larger than any I had seen, dark as midnight, carved with the same tiny droplet symbol and Hannam characters. The first teacher, Lin whispered. My grandmother's teacher. She gave the stone to my grandmother when Hanoi fell in 1946. Mai's warm stone pulsed in its clay pot. The new stone didn't glow. It sang, a low, ancient hum that vibrated up through floorboards. When Lin touched it, tears cut paths through the dust on his cheeks. I forgot her name, he admitted. For 30 years. Buried it under facts and exams. He poured rainwater over the stone. She taught street children during the war, in bombed-out buildings. No books, just stories whispered in the dark. My brewed tea, as steam rose, it didn't shape faces. It shaped classrooms. Flickering images filled the shop. Children huddled under blankets, tracing letters in ash on broken walls. An old woman's hands, strong, stained with ink, guiding theirs. Remember the taste of safety. The steam seemed to sigh. It's the first thing war steals. Professor Lynn's shoulders shook. She saved my grandmother from a bombing raid, carried her on her back through smoke, lost her own notebook of stories that day. He touched the dark stone. This was all that remained. I understood then. The dragon carving on her counter wasn't just Grandma's. It was hers, the first teacher's. Grandma had inherited it when she took over the tea house from her own mentor. The stones weren't magic. They were a chain, a river of rememberers flowing through time. Lynn placed his dark stone beside Mai's sprouting pot. Roots from Mai's ginger shoots reached across the wood, touched the old stone. The hum deepened, became a lullaby. That night, I sat alone after closing. Moonlight silvered the counter where the 3 stones rested together. She closed her eyes, breathed in. The steam carried no memories of her own. It carried his, a 7-year-old boy hiding under a table during bombing raids. An old woman's voice singing a lullaby through the cracks in the wall, the taste of safety in a cup of ginger tea. She opened her eyes. The steam had shaped a dragon, not from her childhood, but from 1946. Its scales gleamed with ash and moonlight. Its eyes held the faces of all the children it had guarded. As the dragon faded, a new scent filled the air. Not ginger. Chamomile, the first teacher's favorite. And beneath it, a whisper in Vietnamese I had never heard before. Thank you for keeping the life thread alive. I touched the warm stone. It wasn't warm anymore. It was alive, pulsing like a heart. Roots now cradled all 3 stones, weaving them together. The teacup beside them steamed gently. In its reflection, I didn't see her own face. She saw yours. The river doesn't just flow through Hanoi. It flows through you, and it's singing your name right now in the language you forgot you knew.